Hi, I'm Oscar from Stagey Kids, and today I'm in the Prince Edward Theatre, joined by the star of Aladdin in West End and Broadway, Trevor Dion.
What's up?
No. So for those of you who haven't seen Aladdin, can you explain a bit about the show?
Yeah, Aladdin, you have your classic story, very similar to the Disney films, the animated film, and so you follow Aladdin, this diamond in the rough, the street rat, and his search for love and friendship, and so it's really about that. It's about him trying to redeem himself and the people that he's with and the people that he meets, and all the wonderful things that come along with that. And I get to be this magical genie that he meets on his journey, and we have a good time together.
Can you describe Aladdin in 3 words to make people want to come see it?
Glitz, glamour, glitter.
And the genie is a really physical part. How do you warm up?
We have a group warm-up that we do every day, and so that's part of it. So the group physical warm-up that our dance captain leads, and then we have a vocal warm-up as well, and so we go through that. That's the beginning, and then I go start my makeup process. But then I do a second batch of stretching and just some breathing exercises right before the second entrance, which is before the lamp gets rubbed, and the big dramatic genie reveal in the Cave of Wonders.
What's it like inside the lamp?
Tight. No, it's all good. If you break the lamp down psychologically, if you break the inside of the lamp down to what's it like when I'm not on stage, I can break it down specifically to what it's like in my dressing room, which is chill, relax. There's usually some rock music playing. I might be playing with Legos. I might be like, I have an array of toys set up to keep me company as well. So it's a little dorky, a little nerdy, but it's mine, and so I like it.
Aladdin is a very funny show. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
Oh, the funniest thing that's happened to me on stage. Well, it's always funny when, as you know, as a performer, it's always funny when someone forgets a line. It's always a good one. Matt Croak, who's Aladdin, he and I have a tendency to play with each other a little bit, and so with the genie specifically, as you've seen the show, I have the ability to improvise a bit here and there. More, I have like a sandbox to play in, and I just have to stay inside the outskirts of it, and I'm good. So like I can tend to, as I'm playing sometimes, it will affect Matt a little more differently depending on what I've done. And so like I pride myself in trying to surprise him and come up with things that he hasn't heard me say or seen me do. And so those are probably some of the funniest moments. And so yeah, you know, it's live theater, things always go wrong.
What inspired you to get into acting, and what was the first role you had?
What inspired me, honestly, as a kid, so when I was like 7 or 8, I was really energetic child, and so my parents, and I thank them for this still, instead of trying to suppress that, they tried to aim the energy in a direction. So my parents took me down, my dad took me down in Morgantown, West Virginia, my hometown in the U.S., took me to the Monongalia Art Center, and there I met Taylor Phillips and what eventually became Morgantown Theater Company, and he took me down to an improv class. And so we would build these shows together, and that's how it started. So the first role I played there was we did an improv show, and we came up with a concept, and it was my concept that we rolled with, and it was the Ice Cream Man's Revenge, and I was the Ice Cream Man, and like all these kids that were like out camping, the Ice Cream Man was like coming for revenge. And so it was this really like weird like 7-year-old horror story that I'd created in my overactive imagination. So that was my first like time on stage. After that, we did, same company at the Morgantown Theater Company, we did a production of Alice in Wonderland, and I was the Mock Turtle. And so that was my first like time with a script and actually like learning lines and getting to play with like the poetry of the story and stuff. And so I was terrible, but I had a great time, and so it didn't matter.
What did it feel like when you stepped on the stage for the first time?
It was awesome. The first time I got on stage, I definitely felt like that's what I was supposed to be doing. Like that's where I was supposed to be. And so that sense of fullness and completion was the most addictive thing I've ever felt. And so it's kept me now, years and decades later, still doing the same thing.
Did you have any acting role models growing up?
I was, as a kid, and as I got into musical theater, and as I learned about musical theater, I got really obsessed with Ben Vereen as a performer. I still think he's one of the most incredible performers to watch. I loved Carol Channing. I loved the way that she would perform, and like her sense of timing and sense of comedy was incredible. And so those two were my earliest influences, and then as I got older, Brian Stokes Mitchell was the big one. Of course, Norm Lewis, Audra McDonald, and so like it's just a nice variety of the more talent that you get to experience, you get to see, or you don't try to emulate, but you want to honor what they're doing as well.
The audition process can be really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
What was it like auditioning for the Genie?
Auditioning for the Genie was not too bad, honestly. I auditioned in New York, and so it went really quickly. It went really quickly. I was in once, and then I sent a video that they wanted to follow up, and then they brought me in, and like I was in the room with the producers, and so I was actually flying. I had to fly back to. I'd flown in from Florida because I was doing The Wiz. And so I flew in for my final audition, and then as I was getting to the airport, waiting for my flight to fly back to Florida, and then my agent called me and was like, hey, you got it. And I broke down crying in the airport, and everybody assumed something was wrong. I was like, no, I'm fine. It's a good call, it's a good phone call. So yeah, it wasn't a bad process. And so I know a lot of time people end up going in like repeatedly, and like people are hitting like 7th and 8th callbacks, like going through a process, but mine was actually pretty quick, and so I'm thankful for that.
Were there any auditions that went horribly wrong?
All the time. Most of them. The majority of them go poorly. No, it's like you walk into a room, and in New York you go in and you get in line, and like you wait there, and like that's if you don't have an appointment. And even if you do have an appointment, you'll get in there and you may not have worked with a pianist before, or like the room may feel like you can tell they're not really paying attention when you walk in, and you know you're already in that uphill battle. But yeah, lots of auditions go poorly, but it's the one that goes well that pulls you through.
So you have a band called Neighborhood Goliath.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Neighborhood Goliath, it's been a while now. Started when I was living in Florida with Jason Andrews, my writing partner, and then Joey Russo joined us as well. And now we operate as we work with as many different musicians as possible. So like, I may write a song, but then we try to branch that out to other people, and like, because I want as many different influences and experiences and different ears and different emotions to pour into it, and so like that like amalgamation of talents is what Neighborhood Goliath has become, and so it's exciting. We released our first album this summer, and so I just started writing for a second full-length album. And I love it. It's a good outlet to do, besides just being on stage with a show, to being able to create and write and ideally perform our own music. And so that's good. It's a good outlet. I love it.
Do you sing or play an instrument in it?
I sing. I play a little bit of everything. I play some keys. I play guitar. I play bass. But yeah, so I. Pretty much all the keys on the albums are mine, but usually my guitar gets replaced. Some of it's still there, but it usually gets replaced. I'm not the best guitarist, but I love it anyway.
Where did the name come from?
Well, I was always the biggest kid in my neighborhood growing up, and so it's kind of an extension of that. The idea of the big kid in the neighborhood. Like I was always a solid foot taller than the other kids. Like even at like 9, 10 years old, and so but it's the idea of the gentle giant as well. So.
If you only pick one, theatre or music?
Ideally, I would love to be able to perform my music and produce my music as if I had to pick one. Because part of the appeal for me with theater is the ability to create something new, more so than coming into things that are already existing. Is to get to really like put my stamp on it. So the idea of the creativity in creating music, and the honesty and the direct line from my brain to the paper to the instrument to the recording studio is the biggest appeal for me.
Apart from Aladdin, what's your favourite show right now?
Little Shop of Horrors, hands down. It's always been my favorite musical since I was 7, 8 maybe? But I don't know what year the film came out, but I saw it with my dad. I was young, I was probably too young to see it, honestly. But my dad and I went to, there was an old movie theater, it was old then, and it's even older now in my hometown. And so we go to the cinema and we see the film with Rick Moranis and with Levi Stubbs as the plant and with Steve Martin and Ellen Greene, and I was obsessed. And then I saw the show, and like it has been, to this day, it is still my absolute favorite musical of all time.
If you could play any role, male or female, what would it be?
The plant in Little Shop of Horrors, over and over again. Like it's so good. It's so good. It's written so well. He's hilarious. He's dark and frightening and daunting, but he's an absolute blast at the same time. That would be the male side. Female side, I'm going to pick one of each if you don't mind me cheating.
It's fine.
Female side, I would love to play Ursula in The Little Mermaid. I feel like I'd be a really good Ursula. Like, that's like top. Oh, I'm going to toss another one in. I've always wanted to play Frankenfurter in Rocky Horror. That's been one of my other obsessions. That would be like awesome. But Little Shop is first as the plant, and then as a female I want to play Ursula. Totally.
The genie is very magical,
Yes.
with lots of tricks up its sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a special trick you can teach me?
I wouldn't call it a trick, and I wouldn't necessarily say I could teach it, but I have the most like annoying, borderline like obsessive thing that I do during shows, and that is I learn everyone's lines. And so to the point where if anyone is off, it makes me uncomfortable. Like and not uncomfortable in the sense of like oh I need to leave the stage, but uncomfortable in the sense I'm like that's not their line, and like so but it's it's irritating, and I realized very young that I should not share this whenever I've experienced it. I should keep it to myself and not acknowledge to everyone that I was like, oh, they messed up this word in their line this time, and then they messed it up differently in the next show. But I remember how they did it 6 shows ago, and how that was different from the one they did today. And it's I wouldn't call that a trick at all. I'm the one being tricked by that.
If you had your own genie,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your 3 wishes?
3 wishes. I would wish for the ability to continue to create some form of art form to sustain my lifestyle. And so like I'd like to be able to keep performing, keep writing, keep acting, keep singing, and to be able to continue to do that for as long as I'd like to, because the business is fickle. So that would be one. I would definitely wish for my children, not necessarily to be given everything, but for them to have the ability to work hard for what they want and to meet their successes through perseverance. And I would wish, right now especially, I would wish for just like an overall empathy between human beings, because there's a lot of tension in my home country, and there's a lot of tension all over the planet right now. And so I think just more, I don't want to say I wish for world peace, but like the idea of just empathy from person to person, being able to put each other in each other's shoes and experience what it feels like from the other perspective, I think would be good.
What advice do you have for aspiring young actors?
I'd say for any aspiring young actors, to be okay with a no, to be okay with rejection, and to know that that is rarely a reflection of your talent or your abilities, but it's more about just the situation overall. And so it's like I said, it's a fickle business, it's a difficult business, and that type of the drive that you have is important to sustain you through stumbles and falls, and in your successes as well, maintaining that drive. And that it's always okay if you hit a point where you don't want to fight. It's okay to say, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this for a while. I want to take a break. I want to come back to it. But the most important thing is if you love what you're doing, to keep pushing for it.
Now I'm going to play a round of Heads Up with Trevor. We're doing household objects which you might find in his lap.
Sweet.
I'm going to be guessing, and you're going to be describing or miming.
All right, I'll do my best. There we go.
Blinds, curtains?
Yes.
Yes. Chopping board? I don't know. Lights, light bulb. Torch. No idea.
What do I come out of?
Oh, lamp.
Yes!
A table mat. Table.
Yes!
Yes. A chair.
Yes!
Yes.
Okay, that's a really old one.
TV.
Yes! Ah, time's up. The last one was going to be toaster. I had such a good one for toasters.
That was great.
That was good. That was good.